Do we start?
I think we start. I'm recording. It's going.
I think we sound just like it. We sound just like it. Wow.
Yeah, I think that was it. That was it.
What did this again?
Welcome back to another episode of So Basically podcast featuring my co-host.
What's up, y'all? Cabrona Logic here.
And me.
And you.
Hey.
Did you
miss me?
You're back. They're back. It's the second episode.
Right.
So we're here in episode 2 of So Basically. We want to thank everybody that listened to our first episode and that's here now, catching on episode number 2. We are so grateful for all of you who've been listening on YouTube, on SoundCloud and Spotify. Super, super grateful for the support, the messages, the DMs, the tags, and the stories, all of that.
Yeah, like we were getting shared quite often, just like Corona Logic said, really sharing us. I felt kind of like famous, on the 16th.
Like our little day.
Yeah, I was like, wow, this is what people do. We did a official launch time.
Official launch time, for sure.
PSP, That was really cool. It was exciting to see just so much support so fast, like right away. So,
I know. There were people listening within the first 30 minutes. And
yes.
It was early. It was 7 a.m. PST.
Yes.
But we appreciate it. We also have a new setup today.
Yes. If you didn't notice.
We don't have a petty party scheduled on today's episode, but if we did,
it would be.
The topic would be the same.
Audio equipment.
So this is, we're not going to do it, obviously, but in case y'all were wondering what happened in the last hour and a half, a petty party.
It's always an hour and a half right before we record.
It is.
It's the second time. Second time.
Maybe it's just a part of the experience, It's a ritual.
It's us.
I know we'll be fine.
It's us if they've ever been us.
Yeah. So let's check in. Tell me, how was your birthday?
How was your birthday?
How was your birthday?
My birthday was kind of cool, of course, because, COVID and trying to shelter in place and all that, you want to take precautions. So I didn't have anything festive with other people involved. I told, my close friends, like I am taking off work. I took off work. I use my personal holiday because it is a holiday to me, so I use that. Luckily, one of the tattoo shops was open to get my nose pierced. So now I have 2 nose piercings, one on each nostril and my septum. So I'm just feeling really hardcore, just real Black Maria at 28, which is supposed to be, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I also celebrated my 2-year anniversary for my locks. So my locks are like my first plant I had. So it's like, I started working with my locks and now I have plants, more and more plants in my place. It's exciting. It's a moment for me. So I got my nose pierced and then I had sushi in the park with my partner. And then we played games like and stuff. And then I just came home and watched movies.
Yay. Sounds like a fun time.
And sipped on beverages.
Is that the night you Snapchatted me? No, that wasn't, huh?
No.
Okay, but that was a funny night. That was a funny Snapchat. I was laughing.
I have videos from that night. I'll send them to you.
Okay, thanks.
But that's what I did on this side of town. How was your birthday?
Yeah, my birthday. So I also took it off. So I reached something that I didn't know was possible. I accumulated too much vacation time. So I wasn't eligible to accumulate more.
Right.
Because I reached my max. So I, took a couple of days off, my birthday being one of them.
Yes.
And let's see, what did I do? I took like a slow morning. I was with my dog. So like we cuddled. I like had this nice little like bath with a diffuser and incense and candles.
Mm-hmm. We love a diffuser.
So some relaxed tea,
Mm-hmm.
I call it.
Mm-hmm.
Had some phone calls, my mom and I FaceTimed.
Mm-hmm.
And then my partner took a half day. So she was so sweet. She came home early and we just kind of spent the afternoon together. We cooked. I taught her how to cook because then her family came over. Her mom had made cream pie, which is really good. I've never had it before. And I know I've never had it before. I'm not a pie person, so but I'm also not a
Wait, what? You're not a pie person?
I mean, my next statement was I'm also not a cake person. So
cake is nasty. So
yeah. So
but we need to really go back and discuss you not liking pie. I'm really betrayed.
It's the cooked fruit for me.
Oh, okay. Wow.
It's that.
Do you like pineapples on your pizza?
Absolutely.
It's the cooked fruit for me.
It's
It's the cooked fruit with marinara sauce for me and cheese. That doesn't even sound right.
Okay, well, of course it doesn't. If it has animal products, it doesn't sound right to you.
Right, but that's besides the point. The point is that having a cooked fruit with
I had a banana
marinara sauce and bread. Do you see how wild that sounds? I just want to throw that out there for people. Maybe we should put a
radio sounds. We'll put a poll on Instagram. We'll do it. But let me tell you, I order pizza for a living. You can ask my students that, okay? It's part of my job description. And every time that I've asked if they want pineapple on their pizza, they always say yes. I've never had an entire group be like, no, ever. So, sounds probably different than it tastes. So,
but do you see what I was saying? Like, you don't like cooked fruit?
Not in like when it's like, then it has feels like a broth to it. It's like a soup, like a soup of cooked fruit. Versus just like a little bit of
pineapple on pizza is literally cooked fruit in a broth of tomato.
It's not a broth. No,
tomato and cheese and bread dough.
It's not a broth. I think this check-in is a little longer than we intended it to be. It's not a broth though. It's not. And Hawaiian
I'll get past it. Go ahead. What else did you do on your birthday?
That's it. I had my pie. I decorated my Christmas tree. And I thought about Hawaiian pizza because it's so good, especially when you put jalapenos on that shit. It's all you needed. So here we are.
Thinking about it now. I don't know how I feel.
I've been eating pineapple on pizza since I met you, so I feel like this is a long.
I don't think I've ever seen. You know what? It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe it's been how many years and this hasn't popped up? 6 years. 6 years.
You think you know someone, and then something happens to the point where you don't even know who they are anymore. Anyway, I'll move past it for the sake.
All right, let's get on to it.
We're gonna have a talk after this.
Yeah. I'm sure. It's okay. Now we know what we'll have for dinner today. Is that too much? Oh my God. And we said there would be no petty party.
I want everyone to really just hear how mean you can be. The pettiness.
It's why it's a whole segment of this entire
it's the pettiness for me.
It's why it's a third of the podcast. One whole third of it. It's space for us to just be who we are. Which is,
Right. Okay. Well,
On that note.
Speaking of partners and things and our celebrations on our birthdays, and now that we're the big 2-8, we can kind of tap into our next segment for Queer Chronicles and kind of talk about like, how did you, the timeline of your queerness?
The timeline.
When did, reality really set in for you? And like, how did you get to this age now?
How did we get here?
Yes. How did we get here?
Yeah. See, the timeline part, it's difficult because it depends on like the timeline for who. For people that know me, the timeline was maybe 4 years ago, almost it came out about 4 years ago or so when I started dating my current partner, a little bit less, more like 3.5-ish. So relatively late, a late bloomer, if I can use that word, but I essentially didn't come out until I got into a relationship, my first like serious relationship with a woman. Before then, I'd known about my identity. I don't even want to say like talked to other people, but like explored a little bit, like
Dibble dabbled.
Yeah, just a little, a little like, oh, she said, they said, But I think that in terms of like, for me feeling attracted to other people, because I'm just overall attracted to just like people, I feel like that's been a long time coming, especially in like the spaces that I worked at in college. I feel like my identity was super validated by the people around me. But I, of course, still was and presented myself as a straight woman. I had only dated men, and I really had only had one really long-term relationship for, half of high school, most of college. So that there wasn't like a lot of room. There wasn't a lot of time, if that makes sense. Like my timeline was tight. I started dating, I think like at 16, and I think I dated this person like at 17 on. So there wasn't a lot.
It's kind of all you knew.
Yeah, it's kind of like all I knew, or all I'd done. It's all I'd done. It's not all I knew. Because and I mean, that like, even when I was dating like that one person for a couple of months, I was like, you see something? It's like, like I already knew, and I was already trying to find a way to like just make it happen. But it wasn't until I met somebody that I was like, okay, no, I want that yet. Sure.
Yes.
So it's been almost 4 years.
Yay! Insert audio.
You're gonna have to do that. How about you? Tell me about your timeline. When did you know?
So I think growing up, I kind of knew. So for example, I would be super, but I think I was like really ashamed of it. Let me just start off by that. And that, I think that's just also based in just how I grew up, with like in a religious household, things like that. And no one in my household ever like, it was never talked about, basically. Like there was never any like, hate speech or bashing, anything like that. It just was never talked about. You didn't hear it. And I would see women and I would see, I think they're very beautiful, whatever else, but I'm like, no, I would never like, do other things with them, compliment you, I might smack you on your booty if we're playful like that, if we're comfortable, whatever. But that's never, just that's all playing fun. And it wasn't until I saw my ex-wife and I knew that like, oh, okay, I do this. I do like this.
Down.
But also I was 21. It was honestly right at the peak of me kind of really dating. I mean, I had a little boyfriend in middle school. Like that was my first of all, I thought that was gonna be the love of my life. Let me just tell you that. I thought I was gonna marry him, children, everything. Like it was in 7th grade. So you already know where my head was at. I was looking for, I'm a wife, okay? I'm a wife. And I can't relate yet. I can say like my first serious boyfriend was my one in high school. So I really would say like dating then. I was once again around 15, 16. And then I met my ex-partner when I was 21. So it it kind of just went from there. And then after we split and I got a divorce, and I felt like I went through a whole new puberty. I didn't know. I was like, oh, there's a whole other world open to me that I wasn't aware about. And I do want to step my foot all the way. Like, I didn't know if I was just attracted to that my ex-partner as a whole, like, or just as in a whole new community of folks that I didn't realize that I really wanted to have a relationship with.
Right.
So then I started dating more women then, and I was like, oh no, this is me. All right, this is it.
Confirmed.
This is right. And I was like when I was 25. So then and we're here now.
Yeah, here we are. And we're talking about our timelines because it's a little bit of context for our topic for Queer Chronicles. So tell us what we're going to talk about.
Yes. So it's all about your attachment in relationships. And it kind of started because I'm reading this book in a book club called Attached. And it's basically talking about your attachment style when it comes to platonic relationships, romantic relationship, and how it kind of stems from how we grew up and things like that, all that good stuff. And there's a little maybe 30 to 40 question survey in the middle of the book where they ask you your thought process on whether you agree or disagree with certain scenarios in relationships or comfortability level, vulnerability, and to kind of see where you range from that. And at the end, you find out if you land in one of the 4 categories. So first category is anxious. The second category is secure. The third is avoidant. And then there's a 4th category, anxious avoidant. And that will give you more of a synopsis of, how you can work through. I would say the main goal is to basically figure out what kind of style, how you are in a relationship, and how that can help you give you kind of a roadmap to how to work through your relationships and make more meaningful and deep connections with people. Like that's the whole goal. Yeah.
In a more like synchronized way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I took that.
I did too.
Yes, I made you take it. Yes.
I know you did.
I'm making everyone take it around me.
You administered it to me. You were my
yes.
Would you share with our audience our results, please?
Yeah. So I surprisingly got secure. And secure, where's the here? I will give a little breakdown of that. Do you remember you were secure as well?
Yeah, I was secure, but it was only up by 1 point
off of anxious, right?
So I think anxious had 7 points and secure had 8 points.
Okay.
So it was.
And then just to say what the book is. So it's called Attached. It's the New Science of Adult Attachment, and it's by Levine and Heller. They're the two authors of it. But basically for secure, you are warm and loving in your relationship. Relationships come naturally to you. You like to be intimate, but you're not overly worried about your relationships. You effectively communicate your needs and your feelings that you want from your partner. And you love to share your success and problems with your mate. You're very open. You're just you're in there for them times of need. You're all that, so you're just fully invested. There's a perfect balance somewhat, in how you communicate, things like that. So I was really excited, but I also realized that I've been really working on myself and I've grown to get to that point because there's other categories, like I mentioned, anxious, where knowing how I was previously when I first started dating, totally me. That you like to be very close to your romantic partners. You have the capacity for great intimacy, but you fear your partner doesn't wish to be close to you or as close as you would like them to be. You consume a large part of your emotional energy on your relationships. You tend to be sensitive to small fluctuations in your partner's moods and actions. If you get easily upset in your in arguments with your partner, you tend to act out and say things you later regret. You need security and reassurance from your partner consistently. So, So I know for me, that was definitely me in my past, especially with my previous partner that I had. I was that type of person. And to see myself grow, and actually I am a secure person, like I know I am. It's great. It's great.
Yeah. I think what I was thinking about, because you shared that reflection with me and that really made me think about what we really are trying to dissect, or where our queerness lens is coming in, right? Is like, how did we feel that our attachment style evolve or change, pre and post queerness?
Right.
And I think for both of us, it sounds like we share sort of a similar dating history of it not being, being very like male dominant, right? We're dating male identified folks, but also not that many of them. So it was kind of like at least for me, I feel like I use one relationship because it was my most longest relationship as like an influence. And when I think about like also who I was and how I was, not just in that relationship, but in different points of that relationship, it for sure shows up differently than how it does for me. Like now that I feel like I've embraced another side of my identity, but also just now that I'm dating women and not men. I don't know.
It could just make a whole combination of everything.
Yeah, for sure.
All factors are weighed in to lead us here to this point.
But primarily what I was thinking about in terms of like my anxious attachment tendencies, for me, those show up. I think about like where the other person's attachment style is as well, because I think that's how I decided in my previous relationship with a man, like how I was going to be, right? Depending on how they were treating me. And there were toxic stages of that relationship that when I came back from that toxicity, I was avoidant. I was like, it was, there was no playing around on my end. But before I had realized how toxic it was and how abusive it was, I was for sure on the anxious part. Like zero doubt about it. And so I think that makes me think of that, right? Like depending on who you're dating and how they make you feel, also your attachment kind of plays out in a different way. I was surprised that I was secure, but I think that has to do a lot with the person that I'm dating and with how secure they are and with how secure they make me feel. So that's why I can kind of like put my feet up and be like, yeah, we good.
Yeah. I definitely think that's when people have, and they speak on the theories of like energy transferred and, the vibes and the connection and your chakras and your third eye, it honestly all connects together. Some things I don't know a lot about, and I would love people to explain that more to me. So I would, if you need to comment on that too, definitely let me know, hit me up, because I do kind of want to get more into that. But it plays a part into that in your relationships. And when I was in that marriage and with that person previously, before we even got married, they were a very anxious person. So even though some things that I was already secure in, they weren't, because I want to, please my partner. I want them to feel comfortable. I want us, to be eventually combined together as like a solid foundation. I just adjusted. I was flexible and I adjusted to what they liked. What do they need? So I became an anxious person because of that. So dating someone after, when I gave myself a really long break, was not doing it. But getting back into the dating world, especially being open to a whole new community of folks that I can date, I was like, you didn't text me. I haven't heard from you, and I didn't realize how much the toxicity got into me, and I poured it out into other people. And it's a cycle that could just continue. You hurt that next person, they get hurt, they hurt the next folk, and on and on. And it's, oh man.
No, I agree. I think it's why I feel like when I first got my results, I was like sitting with that point difference of like, dang, like I really thought I'd grown a lot like more, but also of like, again, there are still certain pieces about attachment style that it's kind of just like how love language is, how there's like the way that you love and the way that you receive. I think that's the same thing can apply here. And the assessment, I was like questioning the questions.
Yeah.
It's up to interpretation, because some of the pieces that have to do with attachment have to do with how you attach to others. And then the other one was about like how others attach to you and kind of like how you treat others as well. And it's why for me at first I was stuck on like, this isn't like just the representation of like me. It's a representation of like the relationships that I have, at least when I like apply it in that way. And that heavily depends on another person. So I think I found myself on that secure spectrum because over the last few years, I've just had a much more like secure environment.
And also,
and I tell
it. And then with the attachment styles too, it talks about, you know, connecting it to your childhood and how you grew up as well too, how you received, how you gave love, because that played out in the relationships that you had, romantic relationships that you had. And once again, it continues on and makes it a cycle, and it's up to you kind of to break that cycle for yourself and whatever attachment style that you have. And with the love languages too, like me, because I took that love languages test too. If you don't know what love languages, it's a survey test online. There's a book out. I always recommend that as well. But for me, one of my love languages was verbal affirmation or words of affirmation, right? So I love to hear that. Like, give me, oh my goodness, what? Attention, you know, good gratification, you know, all that. But I am not vocal about my feelings for other people as much.
Oh, that's interesting.
I'm a complete contradiction. I am a walking contradiction. I want to hear it all, but I will not give it back to you verbally. From my past relationships, I've had people use words to hurt me, you know, like they take them back. They hurt, you know, do a 180 on whatever they said to me previously. So for me to protect myself, I'm like, oh yeah, you can give that to me, but I'm not giving it back.
Yeah.
I'm not getting this.
I feel like, I'm not going to lie, I think some of that is also like our Sagittarius selves, because...
Is it?
I think so. And I'm going to say it, I'm like with the commitment part and like with what emoting like, or articulating your emotions like say about like your commitment level, because my love language is also words of affirmation. But I feel like in some ways, like that's how I give love. Like I'm very comfortable like expressing it to somebody once I've like felt it and once I'm like 100% sure.
Yes.
But I also remember like early on in my current relationship, kind of like make this joke of like, I can always take it back. And I think I don't, you know, and I think that's the like, you know, the Sagittarius, like I want, you know, not so much like afraid of commitment, because I'm not afraid of commitment, but more of just like the always like being right at some point, or like, you know, just not caught off guard. Like, you're not going to play me. Like, not I. But I feel like I need to retake the love languages one, because even though words of affirmation and quality time were like my two, like I actually don't feel like I receive those very well, because there are other parts of me that are so particular. Like it's word of affirmations on my terms, and that can't be healthy, you know? Like if it didn't sound like how I imagined it, you know?
One thing I will say is that I'm reading this attachment book, the levels of toxicity that I have in just not even how I act out in my relationships, but my thought process.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of things that I think, I keep it in my brain. I don't act it out, because if I did, some people would have to bail me out of jail. I'm just going to be honest. And I don't have bail money. That's what stops me. and that's a good notion. You're like, I need the investment of the money first, and then we can try to how we want to work with this. But I'm growing, so probably not. It's the growth.
No, but that's so real, because I feel like I've actually expressed that to my partner of like, I would not be handling this right now. Like this was my old self, or you know, like
this new version is in.
You know, yeah, like
good stuff.
Be grateful. Because like I know how I used to be, and again I know that heavily had to do with who I was with and with how, you know, like the manipulation and all that fun stuff. But I just feel like you said, I talked myself through that growth part, and you know, through reaching a situation, and it's like, okay, my old self would have done that. I feel like doing this, but what I'm gonna do is nothing.
Let me work through it in my head. I have
yeah.
step by step
through it, like just process it. Okay. And if there is something at the end of that like reflection that I have to share with my partner, like I will. If I don't, I feel like I don't have to, like then I won't. You know, it's still my like self work. But yeah, that I feel you on that because
and another thing that I do now is, that thought process we go through to get to an actual resolution that would be beneficial on both hands, both parties.
Mm-hmm.
I tell my partner the thought process that I go through. And so then they kind of understand, like, even though I might have these thoughts in my head in a certain way, I'm going to, I guess, calm down or come to a sensible decision. But also so they know how, what my possible potential triggers are and different relationships. So they know like, oh, that's a no.
Yeah.
The death stare usually works as well.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
so
it brings to communication, which applies to everything. But tying like communication with your attachment styles, and really, I think what we're trying to discuss is just the fact that how you deal or how you, use your awareness about your attachment style, your love language, your communication style, your processing, all of that. Like it affects the way that you navigate a relationship because your awareness or lack of like allows you to then you just show up in a certain kind of way where if you don't have that communication with your partner, then they're not going to understand you and you may not understand them if they don't do the same thing. So I think that's one way to tie it, right?
Yeah. Okay, so I will say yes, definitely. But do you feel like a lot of your growth has been in this year, 2020, particularly?
I don't know. Maybe.
Okay. Because I was so focused on trying to, because I was in a relationship previously, and I ended that relationship because I realized that I needed to work on myself, and I didn't want to be the toxicity that I've had from my marriage and to give that person, because once again, it's going to be that cycle. I don't want to do that to them. So I literally ended it for that reason, because I'm like, you are kind of dealing with a toxic person. You might think I'm great. And if you think I'm great, that's great. I would, have that feeling from someone to know that they think you're amazing. But there's some self-work that I have to do
some other
on an emotional level so I can come out as a better person and kind of reach some of the goals that I really want to do. And I don't think for me, when I'm in a relationship, I'm completely wholeheartedly invested. And that comes literally part of my life as a normal but it takes the energy I have for myself, it takes it away from that and I focus it all. So when I left that relationship, I told myself, Mary, like, focus on yourself. Like, do you, girl, do you, boo, boo. Standard thing. I'm gonna do me. Like the song, I was ready. Do you. So I read books like Attached and reading books from my past previously, and just really just realizing, like, one, I am toxic. Like sometimes it is you. Unfortunately, like, no, Maria, it was you. And that's
call it toxic tendencies.
Yes, toxic tendencies. I was trying to work against the whole Sagittarius thing. Like, I was actually wrong. This one time, I will admit that I was wrong. Okay. Just remember this because this is the only time you're going to hear that.
You have to.
Yeah, it's the only time. I guess. Yeah, just I've really been trying to focus on that and work on that. And I feel like I've come to a really comfortable place where I did feel comfortable dating again and seeing how people work, and then using the knowledge that I had to assess them. Honestly, I was like, "Oh, you're very anxious."
Yeah,
you need to back up
because again, you need to know how the other person wants to and likes to attach to you, and whether you have the capacity for that. I think that's for real. I was thinking about it in terms of like my timeline of like when my growth took place. I think a lot of my growth took place when I was single and before I got into this relationship. And the beginning of the relationship, I think this year, because of, COVID, quarantine, all of that, there have definitely been, I think, tests to that growth, moments to apply it.
I was in stressful situations to test my growth and knowledge.
Yeah. But I think, again, I remind myself more, right? That like, no, yeah, you would have done this very differently, and there's no need to. That's where I land. That's where I'm happy that I get to land of like, see, that's not necessary right now. Like, like that's not necessary. That, think about what that would do to like the person that you're with. Like that's no, this is not the way to like go about it. And so
Exactly.
yeah, I think this year has been an interesting one. And then I wasn't aware of my attachment style till you shared it with me, and that was like only like a month ago or so. So it's definitely a new thing to think about.
Yeah, it makes you rethink like everything. Just I think it's because I've had so much time to think about it. Especially when I had my time off and I wasn't working at different times during the summer. I was reading myself to a filth and reenacting, rethinking of situations in my relationships. And I'm like, wow, no, that was all on you. And the way that you denied it, flipped it.
We call that
back in them.
Growth. Okay.
Growth. Well, to go into our next segment, I did mention 2020, right?
You did.
So, in your humble opinion, what has 2020 taught you, brought you, made you think about?
2020 has been an interesting one for sure. There's two things that I think about, and the first one that I most recently shared. Well, I shared it in the most recent episode, but I also shared it in an Instagram post actually, like yesterday or today, I can't remember. I found this art by somebody on Instagram. They had this really cool graphic art, and it said, "They're gonna do it anyways." And that was like huge. When I saw that, I was like, "Ooh, yeah." Like they're gonna do it anyways. And especially as I shared about my experience with online harassment and all of that last episode, it was like a reminder of like, doesn't matter what I do, right? Because what I had done the last 5 years is little by little remove myself from social circles, whether, they were in person, particularly on social media, right? Like little by little, I didn't have Snapchat, I didn't have Facebook, I didn't have Instagram, I didn't have, just little by little, I didn't have anything. And then little by little, I kind of like started coming back. And yeah, it's just a reminder that like, it was clear that like this person's committed, like props to you, boo. Like you've got commitment,
dedication.
You could probably put those skill set to like something really productive and positive.
Work.
Right. Like get yourself paid or something.
Right.
But no, they're going to do it anyways, which is that there's always going to be a reason to, to make something up or to try to make me feel some type of way or make other people feel some type of way about me. And yeah, it was just a reminder that like shit's gonna happen. A whole pandemic happened, right? Like so much happened. Like people are gonna do what they're gonna do. And for me, it was particularly this lesson that like this person was gonna do what they were gonna do. So I needed to just keep living my life. And that's what I've learned, right? That like the time means nothing. I think we all learned that. Time can be so simple.
There is the theory or a conspiracy theory that time is all just simulation.
Oh, I believe
real. And I'm like, you know what? These people are onto something. Like
we're for sure onto something. So yeah, I think I just learned to, to just trust myself a little bit more, to trust the people around me more. Right. Like both with like information and with like my experiences. I did not share, and I still haven't shared like explicit details with a lot of people about what's been going on. So I just learned to do that, right? Like to trust more, and to like care less, and to just be more honest and more transparent, and remind myself that like I have a support system. And
I have a phrase for you.
What's
gonna sound like my mom here. It's not about what happens, it's about your reaction.
Yes.
So not about what happens.
Look at mama dropping that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Really,
yeah.
Honestly, that's what it is.
Yeah, that's my humble opinion on 2020. What is yours?
Okay, in my humble opinion, I think I put it on my little post for people to get to know about me, but it's definitely um, self-care is invaluable. It is truly important. And I've always heard that, oh, you can sleep when you die, or, people think it's great to say I've worked 90-hour weeks. I worked 90 hour week this week or something else like that. And certain jobs that possibly is like a mandatory thing. But I feel like at the end of the day, work is work and it's going to continue without you. You might make it better, but it will proceed. And I think realizing how much if you give of yourself and not invest back into it or refill it back up again, that will essentially affect all of the areas of your life. And especially when it comes with the pandemic, with your health in part two. So I just realized that when I have my self-care plan in action, in motion, when I take that time to meditate, to drink tea, to even put on my diffuser with the oils, to light incense or light a candle, drink water, making sure that I drink water every day. The day keeps the doctor away. Perfect. I'm glad you grabbed your water. Just want to make sure. It definitely in my productivity and just everything, honestly. And also too that discovery is necessary to move forward, whether that is negative or positive. And because right now, when I was still dating and trying to figure out myself, before I decided to date again, I definitely realized some things about me, like I mentioned, are toxic tendencies. And I was a little disgusted in myself. I was looking at myself like, yuck, like, really? Really, Maria? That's what we're doing? That's what we're doing? And I'm glad I learned that stuff, and just honestly getting legitimate feedback, criticism from people that I cared about and loved, and asked their opinion on situations, or they told me the situations that I've had with them, and they're like, "No, I felt like this and there. I never told you this. I didn't feel comfortable, or in arguments, the words that may have hurt them, and I'm not realizing now. Yeah, and I realized I'm glad I now know, so I can be cautious moving forward. And also how to better choose words to communicate how I feel.
Right.
So, yeah, that's definitely my humble opinion of 2020.
Humble opinion, yeah. Lots of lessons, lots of time, potentially. Or not, I don't know.
Is it even time? What is it?
I don't even know. But I think, when folks hear this episode, we are going to be right in the cusp of entering a new year. So we definitely, I feel like my family started making fun of the New Year, New Me saying. Like a couple of years ago, one of my cousins, he screamed that the entire New Year's Eve party. So now it's just we just say it.
Yeah.
But I'm I feel like I wish I hadn't roasted it so much, because I actually want to embrace that this year.
That is me now. This is me.
If there's a year you want to have a new year, new me, it is 2021, because I don't think that there are many things from 2020 that we want to, carry on and drag with us. But
I will say, though, I have a question for you. I know it's not on our outline or agenda, but
wild here.
Yeah, we're getting wild off the cusp. What are three things in 2020, good, awesome, amazing memories that you have from 2020? Times, moments, whatever. What are three?
Three. All right.
Yeah. I was gonna say one or two, but then we would have been extra. We would have been fighting about that.
We would have been
three. We'll just go to the next number. Three.
Let's just go for three. Yeah. Shout out to all the Treys out there.
Right. Treys.
Let's see. I think the first one, Nola.
Yes.
If you know, you know.
Yes.
If you know, you know.
Right. If you know, you know.
If there was any other way to end time before a pandemic, I think that did it.
We went out with the bang without even knowing.
Without knowing that it was
Bang for us.
that we did. At least we had the bangs. So here we go. So
Yes.
Nola was great in early 2020, pre-pandemic, in case it hasn't been clear, like very pre, like 2
Right.
days before.
Right. Like when we landed back, they were like, there's a pandemic. And we're like, we just, oh, okay.
The second one, it has to be that point of quarantine when it was like, when we were all really thought it was going to be over in May,
Oh yeah, like when it was like end of March and they were like,
March, early April,
Mhm.
bored in the house. I'm in the house bored.
Yes.
Like,
like summer's gonna be lit. We've been shut down months. Oh, it's gonna be cracking. The streets are gonna be wild. We're gonna be out there. It's open.
Like it's just, of course, in the college setting, it was like an extra long spring break. Like,
Yeah.
cool. And it was fun at first, right? Creativity flowing, again, TikTok blowing up, all these things. Like, I'm a homebody. Did I enjoy it for the first month? Oh, of course I did.
Yes.
Was I in my element? Hell yeah. Nothing for me.
No, brah. What?
Period. Like there was nothing, I was comfortable. I was very, very comfortable. Then of course, then it wasn't over in May.
Reality check. Go sit in.
Yeah, but that April, we'll say April was a good time. Was a good time. And then I think the third favorite memory, it has to be the podcast.
Yeah.
I think, we talked about this on launch day when we were FaceTiming. Like, I don't, hopefully to our listeners, they just had another dope ass day with a little extra stuff on top, right? Like for us, it was like an all day event.
Yeah, well, did you see that comment? We had another DM.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, it was that. Like I was joking with some people that I was talking to and with you of like, I'm our biggest fan. Like I'm cracking up as I'm editing this out. And I feel like such a dork, but like you're making me laugh and I'm just laughing at us. And it's again, just something that I don't think we knew how much we wanted to do it until, we did it and then we heard it and then we put it out there. So yeah, that has to be the third one.
Okay.
Yeah, you're 3.
No, I had some time to think, so now I think I changed.
Yeah, you came up with a question.
One, I would say, 1 and 2 are kind of connected together, and it also plays into 3. Let me just say that. Because 1, I would say Nola overall, going to New Orleans, Mardi Gras, and then that experience, and also doing that with sisters, super awesome. And then 2 would be, our national convention. I just getting to see sisters again in person before we knew what was going on. Just being able to see some sisters. And then, I think because you kind of follow people on social media for so long and you just feel like you know them, and to finally just connect with them in person and be like, I kind of stalk you, but like not stalk you. I don't know how to make that sound any less than what it sounds like. But like you follow someone for so long, you're like, man, they're just so cool. And just to see that same coolness you see on their social media, it's literally in person and it's this exact same. You're like, wow, like how cool are they?
Yeah.
Well, just some of my sorority sisters that I saw, I'm gonna let you know, I super fangirl you. I stan you all the time. Like I'm supporting, okay? I'm supporting it, okay? I'm in every picture, every post, retweeting, commenting, sharing, reposting. I got you, okay? Just know that the Black Maria is here. But
they knew who you were.
3 is our podcast as well too. Like I'm gonna take that answer too. Also because it ties into Nola, because we literally were there talking about it.
That's when we decided.
That's when it was really going to be a thing. We mentioned it, before whatever. And I was saying I wanted to do it, for so long, but to write it down on a piece of paper.
I have it somewhere. I saved it.
Yeah.
And our topics and
Yeah.
Why don't we pick the date also? Yeah.
And then I think seeing that memory from my Snapchat that I posted, like that was 4 years ago from our last year. Like, who would have known that would worked out so perfectly once again? And we were celebrating birthday then. And, so now we have all these new like anniversary dates we can add. I love anniversary dates for everything. So, but yeah, they all tie together. So Nola, seeing sisters, bonding, connecting, and podcast for sure. Like top 3.
Yep. We made it happen.
Yes.
Here we are.
Can you believe that's going to be 2021?
Oh.
Well, maybe we can do that on the next episode. Talk about like our goals and stuff like that, because I think it'll be around that time.
Yeah.
So wild.
Let's see how we're feeling more towards the future, but there was a lot of reflection going on, and it's always good.
Yes.
It helps. It reminds us of the work that we've done that we don't always celebrate. So I think, as we both shared, we have the tendency to, talk to ourselves in our head. Sometimes maybe not the most positive way, but
sometimes you have to have a business meeting internally. That's what I call it. It's a business meeting.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I really wish I had. Have you seen that creator on TikTok that does the council? I think her name is like Kate Lawrence or something like that.
Yes, I know who you're talking about.
I actually wish I had that, but like in real life. Like I wish that there was like that I could like visualize and speak with the perspectives of my body and myself and to work through something. Because, her should be hella funny, but it's also like, no, like that would be so helpful.
That would be really beneficial for myself.
Really helpful. But it's, I guess we'll stick to, internal business meetings and growth.
Hashtag internal business meetings.
Oh, yeah. I think we're winding down. I think we've gone through the outline.
Right.
We presented the 2 segments that we didn't present last.
Look at you like you're presenting your thesis. Go ahead. Get it out. Get it out.
Our 3 recommendations are, that was a long time ago. That was 3 years ago.
That's wild.
I love that every year you send me the memory of when
I'm always going to send you the memory because I was so proud. I was freaking out. I was like, she's just doing it. And your outfit was hella cute. It's super like, it was like professional, but I'm also like a young adult. So you're going to get all this style. You're going to get
the first time I wore fun pants.
Yeah. The fun pants. Which is cool, Yeah. Collective just up here, like perfect makeup, like not too much, not too little. Giving.
Yeah. I think it was definitely the day when I realized like, oh, I'm definitely gonna be, twisting these professionalism. I was wearing a bodysuit.
Yes.
And then the little kilo pants, and
I'm trying to tell you, you were giving it. You're giving it all that was needed to be given. Okay.
Thank you. We had to do it. Had to do it one time for the one time. I think, like we said, this is kind of the end of our episode. It's the end of 2020.
Yes.
We hopefully folks are, celebrating what they celebrate during this time, or not, and eat what they eat, or not. Any last thoughts?
I will say that I hope that everyone listening takes time to reflect on 2020. And even if, I always say this, write down any goals or any plans you have, because even if they don't work out, you kind of give yourself an idea of a notion what you want to do without even realizing it. Some people need that. So I say, write down maybe 1 or 2 goals that you have for the new year. And whether that can be internally, or it can be working on relationships with people, or it could be career-wise, academics, all that, whatever area, but do that and just see if that's something you want to continue throughout the year, if you can. And also number 2, I'll always say hydration is key. Drink your water, stay hydrated. That's me yelling at my mom right now so she can drink water. Perfect. Love to see the hydration kicking in. But that plays a part. When you don't have water, headaches, some people are moody. They don't realize it because your pancreas needs the water. So yes, that's all I have to say. What about you for 2021?
Yay. I just want to remind everybody because where they can listen to us and also our handles, because last episode I said our Twitter wrong. I think I even gave you the wrong Twitter handle. That's why you can't log in, by the way. So, but I fixed it on our doc. Sorry. We'll leave this to the meeting after the episode. So that's why.
Okay.
But here are this is where you can find us on social media. I wrote it down, so I said it correctly. Now, the main hub, the easiest thing to do is to find us on Instagram at so basically _ the podcast. In our bio, we have our link tree link with everything to all the other accounts that I'm going to mention. So go-to is always Instagram. If you don't have Instagram, which is understandable, you can also find us on Twitter at _ so basically pod.
I think you said that.
I missed the underscore.
Oh, okay.
And the doc also missed the underscore. Okay. So it's _ so basically pod. And then we are on SoundCloud, so basic _ as well as Spotify now.
Woo woo!
Yeah, Spotify and YouTube. So basically the podcast. Again, the easiest way to find us is through Instagram.
To go to our direct links.
Yeah, especially our YouTube channel because it's a little hidden still in the algorithm.
Yes.
Work on that, but follow the direct links on the link tree and you should be able to find us.
Yeah.
That's that. I think it's time.
Should we do the fade up music? See you in 2021.
See you next year. Bye.